Let us pray. Almighty God, where you have called us to govern this province, we ask your help to make decisions and laws that will be just and will promote the interest of the people. Almagtige God, ons bid dat u gedurende ons vergaderings ons die nodige wysheid sal gee en ons motiewe suiwer sal hou en dat u ons sal help om al ons tekortkominge te oorkom en al ons besluite aan u op te dra. Sikalela lezwe letu na bantu balo. Umusile ukulungu kwepondo letu. Nkosi sikalela e Afrika. Kina abantwana bayo. Kokela inkokeli zayo. Yaniki, Ukolo, Africa. All this we beg in your holy name. Amen. Please be seated. Order members, before we begin, I would like to remind members of some of the logistical arrangements. As has been the practice, honourable members will participate in the sitting of the House, both from here in the chamber with the presiding officer and the table staff and via Microsoft Teams. Our standing rules have accordingly been amended to accommodate such hybrid sittings. The honourable members experiencing challenges in connecting to the sitting are requested to contact the WCPP ICT colleagues who will assist to resolve their connectivity challenges. Allow me also to highlight some of the important directives that the quorum requirements for the sitting of the House are provided for in the Constitution and the standing rules. Members present in the chamber and via Microsoft Teams have all the privileges and immunities imparted by law. Members who are considered out of order by the presiding officer will have their microphones muted and called to order. The Sergeant at Arms will record members' attendance. In instances where directives do not cover a particular eventuality, the standing rules will apply. In instances where the rules cannot be applied, the ruling by the presiding officer is final. Members, all microphones have been muted. However, for those members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams, you are requested to use the raised hand functionality of the system when you desire to raise a point of order, and the presiding officer will recognize you. When an honourable member in the chamber wishes to raise a point of order, such an honourable member may address the presiding officer as expected, but must mute their microphones when they have completed speaking. Honourable members are required or requested to please ensure that their microphones are unmuted when the presiding officer recognizes them, and when they are done speaking, to please mute their microphones. Honourable members participating in the sitting of the House via Microsoft Teams are requested not to sign into Microsoft Teams on more than one device unless the second device is utilized with earphones for language translation services, as all these actions result in a disruption of the sound during the sitting. The media and members of the public have also been granted access to this MS Teams meeting as guests of the WCPP. However, members of the press may not use the chat room or speak or activate their cameras while the sitting is in progress. If an individual who is not a member of this House activates their microphone and video camera, such an individual will be exited from the sitting immediately. I request that those here today who are not members of the House to please observe the decorum of the House. For the sitting members, language translation services are available in the chamber as usual and on Microsoft Teams via the respective channels. Honourable members participating in the sitting of the House must please access language translation services via a second device, for example your cell phone, and if you have earphones available, please use them for the language translation services. Honourable members, I would like to draw your attention and remind you that no interjections are permitted during these hybrid sittings. To this end, I draw the honourable members' attention to Rule 40 of our standing rules. Honourable members, that is the logistics for today. But before we start, I would like to refer back on a matter at the House sitting of the 9th of March 2023. Where a point of order was raised on an alleged unparliamentary language used by the Honourable Peter Murray. At the time, Honourable members, I indicated that I would consult the audio recordings of the proceedings to determine what was said. The recording was inconclusive, and I informed the House that I would wait for the transcriptions of the proceedings and make a ruling at the earliest opportunity, which was today. Having studied the transcript, I'm ready to make the ruling. I've also informed the Honourable Peter Murray of my intention, and I've requested him to be present at today's sitting. I have now been informed, members, by the Honourable Murray that he is not able to attend the sitting of the House due to circumstances beyond his control. as my ruling requires a response from the Honourable Marais, I will make the ruling at the next sitting day when he is in attendance. I so rule. Honourable Chief Whip, is that a point of order?
Yes, it is.
You may address me.
Thank you, Speaker. Are you a speaker now, or you self-appointed? Then you rather keep quiet. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Speaker.
Chief Whip, please speak to me.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, you would have known that the unparliamentary utterances that were made by an honourable member in this House were a bone of contention. Not only that, but it was an insult to the African and blacks in particular. And your comments or your address today is not fit enough to address the issues. And perhaps my point of order to you is that you need to address the matter as urgent as possible, not unless today you want to tell us and the people of the Western Cape that this parliament harbors and protects racists. And that's a point of order which I want you to take into consideration as and when you're taking your decision, because as it is not acceptable and it's an insult to us as the African National Congress. And perhaps I must place it on record that the ANC is going to take further actions in this regard.
All right, thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip of the Opposition. That is not a point of order, but let me just clarify this ruling. I have indicated to the House that I'm ready to make a ruling. The member that the ruling affects or is addressed to is not present in the House. That is nothing, this is no new convention. This has always been the case where a member needs to be present when a ruling is made. I am not going to entertain any further points of order on that because I've already made the point. The member is not here. Honourable members, that is not, it's not up for debate. The member is not here. As part of the ruling, when there's a member on the floor, I allow you an opportunity to raise your point of order. I'm now on the floor, so please allow me the same opportunity to address the House. Honourable Chief Whip, I have seen you. Can you please take your seat? I'm still busy responding. Honourable members, there is, in order to, honourable members on both sides of the House, can I please ask that you please allow me to continue and finish? I have indicated when I started that I am able to make a ruling. The member which I cannot make the ruling in the absence of the member because that doesn't address the point. Members, please. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Deputy Speaker, I'd like to address you on what you've indicated, and I'm sure other members will want to do the same. There is no rule in this House which says that a member needs to be present when you make a ruling, number one. The Honourable Marais could indicate to you next week, the week after, that for reasons beyond his control, he's not here. He called African black members of this House refugees. He told some of them that they come from Zimbabwe. There has been that is racist and it's insulting. There's no convention. There's no convention which says that he has to be here. He could string this House along for months. We would like you to share the ruling with us so that the House is aware, and when that member is in this House, he can consider doing what the ruling might ask him to do. So Speaker, there isn't a rule about this. It's a convention. We ask you to understand the racist insults of this bigot, Honourable Marais, and understand that there's a sensitivity here from all of us and hopefully from other side of the House as well. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much. Speaker, we all are bound to the rules of this House. Otherwise, it would be absolute chaos. Speaker, I rise on Rule 66.5, which says that a member who is aggrieved may not challenge a ruling in the House. That member should follow the process of writing to the Speaker, who must then convene a Rules Committee within reasonable time to address the principle of the ruling. This should apply only to substantive matters. I so move, Speaker. Thank you.
All right, Honourable Members, I see Honourable Klaas. Honourable Nkondlo, there's a member on the floor. Honourable Members, order members. Order members.
Honorable Speaker, my hand is up.
Members, there's a member on the floor. Members, Honourable Klaas.
Ngosi Speaker. Speaker, okanye kufaka into yendlebe ngifuna uthetha ngolwimi lwami ngoku. Ukwenzela azoyazi uba singabalapha nathi. Angabi sasikhupha. Speaker, apha nje into endifuna ukucacisela yona. Lo mfo uthethe ngaphandle kwe-order oye wamnika yona uba makathethe. Uthethe ngaphandle kwakho kuba umnike umyalelo. So yonke le nto akayenzanga ngokwemvume yakho, yonke le nto uyithethileyo. Uvele waphakama wathetha. Ngoko ke eko ukuthetha ukuthi lilungelo lakho lokuthetha nawe noba ukhona noba kekho ngoba khangathethe ethethiswa nguwe uzithethele. Inkosi.
Thank you, Honourable Klaas. I see the Honourable Chief Whip and then the Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Thank you, Speaker. I honestly do not know what makes a member to rise on a different rule from the rules that we're dealing with. And from your comment that you have made, you said you are not in a position to make a ruling in the absence of Member Murray. There's no rule such as that. And this House cannot be led to a different direction that is not even covered by the rules. The statement that you have made has no backup in any legislation of this House. And therefore, we cannot allow such a situation to happen at our presence, at our own peril. Because we've got our own rules that guides us here. And you cannot create your own rules out of a pain, Speaker. Maybe if one does not understand what it means to be labeled as a refugee, will stand up and speak contrary to that because they don't see themselves as refugees. I was born and raised in Nyanga East. My mom was born and raised at Klip. And that is in the area of Grassy Park. How do we then begin to be called foreigners in our own country? That's an insult, and we cannot accept it as legislators. And if you are dilly-dallying, hiding behind frivolous rules that do not even exist, you must tell us today. There's no such a convention, Speaker. Tell us today that you are protecting and harboring racists in this legislature.
Thank you, Honourable Chief Whip of the Opposition. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker, and we note what you have said. I just wanted to know, and I think it's important, where in the rules, because it says there's a convention, but where in the rules exactly does it say that a member must be present when there is a ruling being made about the member? Because there were cases in this term where the former Speaker ruled and member was not present. Because, and I'm asking this because as the ANC, we are contemplating action, and the Speaker must place on record that rule which says that a member must be present, so that when we do take action, we have it on record on the part of the Speaker. Also, Speaker spoke about the Rules Committee. That's a committee that hardly convenes. In fact, when last did the Rules Committee sit?
Thank you, honourable members. I see Honourable Kama is online. Is that a point of order? Honourable Kama?
Yes, Speaker. Can you hear me, Speaker?
I can't hear you. Honourable Kama?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Speaker, I think I'm also rising on a point of order because I don't think the chief whip of the House was really assisting you because you have not made a ruling. And this action, Speaker, that you are about to embark on does not only make the pain much more worse, but it also undermines the very same ruling you had made when this point of order was raised initially. Because your commitment then was that you are going to rule in the next sitting of the House, because you had to go and look into Hansard and revert back to the House. Now, to say that because the member is not in the House and the member is aware that you are going to make a ruling in this House does not assist, Speaker. I think this House collectively, whether one is of any particular race, has a responsibility to commit itself to protect our democracy, which was founded on non-racialism. And for this House to dilly-dally in a moment that it should restore or the hope in the people of South Africa that never again shall they be discriminated according to their race. This is a very serious matter, Speaker, where you need, exactly as the leader of the opposition is saying, you need to be able, as the Speaker of all of us in this House, to be able to say to the citizens even of this province that racist utterances are not allowed in this House. You have an opportunity to make that call, and choosing not to make a ruling in this instance because of the very same member who we believe has broken the rules of this House really is an undermine. And it puts this House in a very bad image. I thought, Speaker, one should raise that point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kama. That is a comment and not a point of order. Honourable members, I said it from the beginning. The ruling I can deliver. In order to deliver the ruling, I need a response from the person that the ruling is addressed to. This is nothing new. This has always been done. It's convention in the House. And because it's such an urgent and important matter, I am not going to deliver this ruling in the absence of the member that I need to address. I take it as seriously as you are, and for that reason, I went out to make sure that we are 100% correct, that the pretext, the text or the context of that utterances and the post-text were all taken into account. Honourable members, the way that I'm dealing with this, I would deal with any other member that's in this House with exactly the same manner. This is nothing new. Honourable members in the past have been afforded an opportunity to be in the House when rulings were made. Rulings were delivered to people in the House in order to afford that member the opportunity to address the House on that point of order. I please ask members that so that we do not politicize and this issue, but that we rather in the interest of the people. No, members, I allowed you an opportunity when you were on the floor. When you were on the floor, I allowed you an opportunity. Honourable Dugmore.
Thank you, Speaker. I'd like to address you on your explanation. The reality is we've established there's no rule. Secondly, that you've referred to a convention. The reality is by reading out the ruling, you as Speaker can then instruct Member Murray to come to the next session to respond. Because I believe that in your ruling you are weighing up the very perpetrator, the very racist who called our members here foreigners, insulted them, said, go back, you're from Zimbabwe. So now you're protecting the perpetrator, whereas if you made the ruling, it would be clear to everyone that you're asking him to do X, Y, or Z, and then he could be called to the next session. In fact, you could, if you were serious with respect, you could organize a special session for him to come and do this. But he cannot simply say for unforeseen circumstances he cannot join us. What if he says it the next time? What if he says it the next time? It's just not. So it's a convention and we're reaching a new situation here. And I think the choice that lies before you is, do you recognize the feelings or the circumstances of an alleged racist perpetrator over the insult that has actually been delivered to victims? And one can say to this House in front of everyone who's here who wants to listen to the budget, as we do, that you will then, you've made it clear as to what the request will be, and then he just gets called at the next meeting to give him your response. I think it's a new situation, Speaker, and we appeal to you, and I think previously the Deputy Chief Whip has asked that if it's necessary, because we from the ANC, we don't want to delay people's time here. We want to listen to this budget. We came here for that. But even if it involves a 5-minute break where you can ask the whips to meet, but a convention is a convention until it's no longer a convention. That's what I would argue, Speaker. And please assist this House and consider the feelings of those who have been insulted and those against whom racism has been practiced. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I want to support the sentiments raised by the Honourable Dagmo. Convention is what it is. Convention is not a rule. And we must not be cut and dry. It's essentially because we sometimes use conventions and niceties as to why racists feel comfortable in our country and in our province. This has to come to an end. There's no reason as to why the ruling cannot be delivered and Member Marais can respond when he is in the next sitting, or as to why we cannot take a break, tell him that he must come here, because he's the perpetrator. This is an extraordinary circumstance. It's not like a ruling about somebody said something funny or something. This is racism. It really shows that we are not serious.
Thank you, Honourable Deputy Chief Whip of the Opposition. I now see the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, and then Honourable Nkondlo, and then I'm going to close the Deputy Chief Whip. Oh, I did say that. Honourable Class, if it's not a new point of order, you can't rise on a point of order on a point of order, and you've already had an opportunity. Honourable Partner.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I would actually like to rise on 2 points of order. One relating to Rule 66, subsection 3, where a point of order must relate to a procedure, a practice, or operation of the House, but also relating to 66.5. A similar way that has been practiced in this House, that when someone has been accused of something, the ruling must be made when they are present. Example, code of conduct matters. When the matters are ATC'd, the House have to vote on it, and then the respective speaker or presiding officers have to then confront the accused person, and then there's a possibility that the respective person must then do a particular action. So if a particular ruling is going to require Member Marais, for example, to withdraw or to apologize or to be reprimanded or any other mechanism that the House must employ, we don't know what that might be. So the accused person must be here so that they are able to face the consequences of their actions. Every accused in our whole country, these are the rights we fought for. They must face the consequences of their actions. So in terms of section 66.5, you said at the end of your sentence that the ruling that you made was that you're going to wait for the person to be in the House. That was a separate ruling to the actual ruling. And therefore I ask that the same way in code of conduct, the same way in the courts of law of our country, that we make the accused come to this House to face the consequences of their actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Nkondlo. Honourable members, there's a member on the floor. Honourable Nkondlo.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, I just want to rise to actually direct my points to you. That it is my understanding that the issue that we're dealing with is about the decorum of the House, which is why at most, even in the National Assembly, you would have members rising on the point whether what a member in the House says is parliamentary, because it has to do with the decorum of the House. The second point that I would like to raise, Honourable Speaker, is whether which rule, if indeed the premise of our conversation rests on rules, which is this rule that allows you to make a conclusion on the basis of convention than a rule, if exactly that rule is absent in the rule book. Again, I would like to understand the extent to which in this House, as part of the decorum of this House, we would enable, because this matter from where I'm sitting has got little to do with the member. It's about the decorum of the House. And whether this House, which its members individually, they take an oath of office, which has got to do with them adhering to the Constitution of this country. One of those is to ensure to remain as public representatives, upholding a non-racial character of this particular Constitution. Whether you want to then sit and hide behind rules for you not to rescue and restore the image of this House, that no member, whether present or absent, will actually stand in a platform in this House and allowed and actually abuse privilege of this House by uttering racist statements on other members, let alone by inference to other members of the public. So those are the issues I want to address to you as the Speaker. And you please consider that even in the last sitting, I asked you about the statement of Member Mare, let alone what he subsequently made comments on. Whether do you allow a member to make a statement that has got racial connotations on it, and you never ruled on that matter. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Nkondlo, thank you very much for that point of order. On Friday, I did, in fact, on Thursday, said that I will rule together on that matter too, because it all links, and that is part of the ruling. Honourable Klaas?
Speaker, I disagree what have you said. The main thing is that we are here, and you know we were here because we know that you are going to rule on this point. And all of us were waiting for you to rule, but you don't do that. You just give us dive in. You speak that, and you don't give us a point, because when you said you are going to rule, the member was here, so he knows very well what you are going to do today. But because you want to use your point that we do not understand, even in the Constitution, that you said he is not here, but he knows what will happen. And even when you address him, maybe you did say to him, hey, this thing, but what the main point that we need here is that give us what is happening, or on that handsome. We don't want what are you going to rule, but we want you to be fair and state what has been said on that handsome. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, members. Members, I have indicated that I will deliver the ruling when the member is in the House. If you are aggrieved by this verdict, you are more than happy, you are more than welcome to challenge me on Rule 66. And for that reason, I am no longer going to take any further points on this matter. And I now move on, and I see the Chief Whip.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, according to the order paper, I move the first motion in my name, that notwithstanding Rule 163, the House considers the principle and finalisation of the Western Cape Additional Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2022-2023 financial year B1 2023 on Monday, the 27th of March,
Honourable members, please.
2023. Rise
Order,
on you,
members.
Speaker.
Thank you
On a
very
point of
much.
order,
Members,
Speaker.
there was a motion, the first motion in the name
Point
of
of
the
order.
Chief Whip. Are
On a
there any
point of
objections
order,
to
Point
the
of order,
motion?
Speaker.
Speaker, on a
Point
point
of
of
order.
order.
Honourable members.
Can I be
Point of
recognized,
order.
Speaker? Can I be recognized, Speaker?
Honourable members.
Can I be recognized, Speaker?
On a point of
Honourable
order.
Barnes, please take your seat.
Can I be recognized, Speaker?
Honourable Barnes,
I've
please
been
take your
up
On a
seat.
point of order, Speaker. Point of order.
Why,
All right.
Speaker?
On a point of order.
Honourable members, if you are leaving me with no other option.
Speaker, on a
but
point
to
of order.
Refer.
Point of order, Speaker.
Who's?
There's
I
another
mean,
point of
why
order.
why is everyone shouting? I didn't recognize you on the platform. Honourable Barnes, please take your seat. I will give you an opportunity. Please take your seat. Honourable members, there was a motion. There was a motion. Honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members. I will not be strong-armed from the floor to do my job as the Speaker. Let me be make this categorically clear. Honourable Chief
We
Whip.
equally won't allow you to allow members to insult
Speaker.
us in this house. We won't allow that.
Speaker,
Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, the sound is muted.
Honorable Speaker. We can't hear what the Chief Whip is saying.
Okay, honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members. Honourable members, can you just calm down? Honourable members, I mean, the lack of disrespect amongst members is shocking. The reality is, I have already, Honourable Van Vogel, I am on the floor. So what? So what? I'm not going to be strong-armed to rule on a matter that I've already ruled on. If you have an issue, no, honourable members, I've already said that I'm going to rule and. Okay. What is your point of order?
Thank you, Chair. It's not on this issue. Members of the media as well as members in the House, but who are on the hybrid, are raising a concern. There was a stage when the sound was muted, then it was on, but now it's muted again. So if we can just make sure that the technical team sorts that out before we go any further, please. Thank you.
All right. Can I just ask that the table staff please check why the sound has been muted on the hybrid system? All right. The sound is back on. Honourable Chief Whip of the Opposition.
Deputy, can they also just check that the YouTube is also not muted, please?
Can I please get an indication that the YouTube channel is working from the table staff? I have been given the assurance from the table staff that YouTube is working. Honorable Windvogel, if you want to address me, can you please rise? Honorable Dugmore, and then the leader of LOGB.
Speaker, you are aware of another convention where in this House we are able to approach the table and to propose a motion. Now, we want to do that and ask for you've made a ruling in this House. We argued, and we've also even suggested to you that one of your staff can call Honorable Marais, ask him to go link in virtually, deliver your ruling. So we would like to actually vote on that motion, that you call, that we suspend. I will deliver that motion now to the Secretary in writing, and we would like that motion to be debated immediately. To debate that motion, to call Honorable Marais to this House or to be virtually there, and that is what I'm going to do now. I would like to alert you that I'm going to deliver it to the table in a few minutes. And as our Chief Whip indicated, this motion printed on the order paper here is actually a motion. I'm not sure whether you heard, but our Chief Whip asked for a division on that motion. That means there has to be a vote on the first motion that appears on the ordered paper today.
Thank you, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. I see the Deputy Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Speaker, I would like to raise two rules of order because two matters were raised. Firstly, in terms of Rule 133, subsection 2, I did not see 4 members rise in the support of the revision, and therefore I would like to request the presiding officer forthwith declare what the decision on the first motion was. And in terms of Rule 151, dealing with notices of motion, subsection 2, written notices of motion delivered to the Secretary after 12 o'clock on any working day may be placed on the order paper of the second sitting day thereafter, not earlier, unless in a particular case the Speaker determined otherwise. And then 151, subsection 3, regarding a unanimous vote of the House must take place before even any notice of motion must take place. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, honourable members. I'm not going to go into that details because that point of order raised or responded to by the Deputy Chief Whip, because I did not even put the motion to the House yet. The Chief Whip was still on the floor when it was stopped. So I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party for motion number 1.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I move in my name notwithstanding Rule 163, the House considers the principle and finalization of the Western Cape Additional Adjustments Appropriation Bill 2022-2023 financial year B1 2023 on Monday, the 27th of March, 2023. I so move, Speaker.
Thank you very much. Are there members? I'm putting the motion. Are there any objections to the motion? There is an objection. Okay, members, I now need to put the question to the House. Those in favour of the motion being adopted, please say yes. Those not in favour of the question approved, please say no. I think the yeses have it. Okay, in order for members to have their respective votes. Okay, members, I've now noticed the call for the division. In order for the members, Honourable Maran, in order for the members to have their respective votes on the question before the House be recorded correctly, I will inquire from the Chief Whips and the parliamentary leaders to indicate their respective parties' positions on the questions. For political parties represented in the WCPP by more than one member, I will also inquire from the members of such parties whether any of such members wishes to record a vote different to that of their party. Will the Chief Whip of the DA please indicate whether the DA is in support of the approval of the motion?
Support of approval, Speaker.
Are there any individual members of the DA who wishes to record a vote different to the vote of their party? Will the Chief Whip of the ANC please indicate whether the ANC is in support of the approval of the question? Honourable Dagmar, please take your seat. Honourable Chief Whip.
Speaker, we are not in support of the question.
Thank you very much. Are there any individual members of the ANC who wishes to record a vote different to that of the vote of their party? Will the parliamentary leader of the EFF please indicate whether the EFF is in support of the approval of the motion?
No.
Are there any other individual members or member of the EFF who wishes to record a vote different to their vote of their party? Because there's more than one member. I have received an apology from the Honourable August representing Good. And now, will the Honourable Member of the ACDP please indicate whether the ACDP is in support of the motion on the question before the House?
Speaker, support.
I've received, thank you very much, Honourable Christians. I've received an apology from the Freedom Front Plus. Will the Honourable Member of the Al Jama'ah Party please indicate whether the Al Jama'ah Party is in support of the approval of the question before the House?
Thank you, Speaker. Al Jama'ah is not in support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, just give me 1 second. All right, thank you, members. I will have to just need to indicate that there's a total of 35 members present, 25 members yes, and 10 noes. The motion is therefore agreed to. I'll see the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Speaker, I move motion 2 on the order paper in my name. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chief Whip. Members, I place the motion number 2 in the name of the Honourable Chief Whip as printed on her name for a vote in the House. Is there any objections to the motion being moved? Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority.
Speaker, the ANC has an objection. And we cannot allow any processes that seeks to undermine the very same decorum of this House. We're not going to object, and we're not going to sit here, but we're going to make sure that the ANC only comes to this House when you brought Peter Murray to answer for his sins.
All right, members, the motion to put in the name of the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party, is the motion, are there any objections to the motion being agreed to? No objections, agreed to. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Before the ANC leaves, I would like to formally table the following motion with the Secretary.
Honourable Dagmar, Honourable Dagmar, you are not allowed to read the motion. You can submit the motion, but you cannot read the motion.
Okay, but you know that the motion is about bringing Honourable Murray to this House.
All right, Honourable Leader of the Opposition. Thank you very much, members. I now see the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. I move the third motion in my name on the order paper. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Honourable members. Are there any objections to the motion being moved in the name of the Honourable Chief Whip? No objection. Motion agreed to. Thank you very much, Honourable members. The Secretary will now read the first order of the day.
Introduction and first reading, Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2022-23 financial year, B1 2023.
Thank you very much, Honourable Secretary. I now see the Honourable Minister Wenger.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Premier, Cabinet Ministers, Honourable Leader of the Opposition, Honourable Members of the Western Cape Provincial Parliament, Executive Mayors, Deputy Mayors and Mayoral Committee members, representatives from the National Treasury, members of the Consular Corps, heads of department, special guests, people of the Western Cape. I table today the Additional Adjustments Appropriation Bill of 2022-23, Bill B1 of 2023, to first attribute emergency funding to Vote 14, local government, to assist in the provision of basic services in municipalities as a result of the unforeseen and unavoidable severe load shedding. And second, for the appropriation of an additional allocation to Vote 5, education, as part of the Education Infrastructure Grant. On the 25th of January 2023, I authorised the use of 88.815 million rand from the Provincial Unforeseen and Unavoidable Reserve Fund to the Department of Local Government, Vote 14, as per Section 25 of the PFMA, in order to meet the province's responsibilities to support municipalities in responding to the effects of load shedding on the continuity and treatment and supply of water and sanitation services through the provision of alternative energy supply. At municipal level, electricity is used for the pumping and treatment of raw water, for the distribution of potable water, and for the collection and treatment of wastewater and water discharge. Reservoirs, water purification plants, and wastewater plants all need large pumps to operate. Consistent and severe load shedding has made it very difficult for these facilities to continue to operate as needed. Municipalities have expressed that one of their most critical emergency needs is assistance with once-off funding to acquire backup energy supply, such as generators for the operation of this critical infrastructure. The devastating impact of sustained high levels of load shedding on basic service delivery across many municipalities in the province affects the fundamental rights of citizens. There is no reasonable prospect that it will end anytime soon, and the knock-on effects on our water services could not have been foreseen, which is why we urgently need to stabilise energy requirements and ensure municipalities can provide essential and basic water and sanitation services. This funding will also help mitigate against the real risk of spillage of raw sewage into watercourses and interruptions of possible water supply, both of which have potential adverse health implications for citizens. Strict conditions have been attached to this expenditure, and each of the municipalities are required to sign a transfer payment agreement as an internal control mechanism to ensure compliance with the conditions of the grant framework. Further, Deputy Speaker, please note that the authorised amount was reported to the Western Cape Provincial Parliament and the Auditor General within 14 days. Expenditure in this regard is included in this Additional Adjustments Appropriation Bill for the current 22-23 financial year. The allocations to municipalities have been published in a notice and will also be formally gazetted as per the requirements of the Division of Revenue Act 2022. And the Department of Local Government will publish regular reports on progress associated with expenditures by all beneficiary municipalities. Deputy Speaker, the National Treasury and in a Government Gazette published on the 21st of February 2023 allocated an additional 115.462 million rand to Vote 5 education in the 2022-23 financial year as part of the Education Infrastructure Grant. It has thus become necessary that an additional allocation be appropriated as part of this bill. This comes as a result of the National Department of Basic Education stopping the transfer of funds to the provinces of the Eastern Cape in the amount of 100 million rand and in Mpumalanga in the amount of 311.94 million rand, and reallocating these funds to Gauteng in the amount of 296.487 million rand and to the Western Cape in the amount of 115.462 million rand. The 115.462 million rand allocated to Vote 5 education for the education infrastructure grant will inter alia assist to accelerate construction, maintenance, upgrading and rehabilitation of new and existing infrastructure in education, including district and circuit accommodation, to address the achievement of targets set out in the minimum norms and standards for school infrastructure, to address damages to infrastructure, and to enhance capacity to deliver infrastructure in education. Deputy Speaker and honourable members, I herewith introduce and read in for the first time the Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill B1 of 2023 for the 2022-23 financial year. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much, Minister. We will now read the Secretary. Honourable Class, do you have a point of order?
Yes.
What's your point of order?
Hey, Tula, man, Tula.
No, Honourable Class, Honourable Class, can you focus on me? Minister,
ask me.
Honourable Class, just take your seat for a second. Minister, you have a point of order?
Yes, Honourable Deputy Speaker, if the member could just indicate on which rule he's raising.
Thank you very much. Honourable Class, do you have a point of order?
Speaker, before that, did he hear me speaking before he asked me that question?
Okay.
I will ask you to ask him.
Honourable Class, no, Honourable Class. Honourable Class, this is an esteemed house. We follow rules. Please speak to me. What is your point of order? I'm listening.
Thank you. I'm just to say to you that I'm also leaving because I cannot continue with the racist.
I respect your choice.
Thank you.
I respect your choice to leave. You may leave the House. Thank you very much. We may now proceed. The Secretary will read the bill a first time.
Western Cape Additional Adjustment Appropriation Bill 2022-2023 financial year.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. In accordance with Rule 188.1, the introductory speech, the bill, and papers laid upon the table will be referred to the relevant committees for consideration and report. The Secretary will read the second order of the day.
Indiening en eerste lesing Wes-Kaapse Begrotingswetsontwerp W2 2023.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I now recognise the Honourable the Minister Wenger.
Honourable Deputy Speaker, today I have the honour of tabling before you the 2023 Overview of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure, Overview of Provincial and Municipal Infrastructure Investment, Estimates of Provincial Revenue and Expenditure, Western Cape Appropriation Bill B2 of 2023, the Provincial Gazette of Allocations to Municipalities, and the budget speech for discussion and deliberation in the Western Cape Provincial Parliament and its committees. This budget builds on the medium-term budget policy statement's framework of hope, tabled in November last year, as we continue on our pathway from recovery to growth for you in the Western Cape. Almost a month ago, Premier Alan Winde, in his State of the Province address, set out a bold vision to deliver a better future for the people of the Western Cape. The Premier spoke of the fierce urgency of now. He said, "As the government of the Western Cape, we are delivering a clear difference for our residents now, not plans or platitudes, but recognisable, tangible action. And today, I set out how we will fund this action over the next 3 years in pursuit of realising a future full of hope in the Western Cape." Deputy Speaker, I often think of what this future might look like. When I read to my 4-year-old at night and he asks me questions about a world he's just discovering, I worry about what kind of tomorrow we are creating for his generation. I worry, as all parents do, about the seemingly endless darkness that we've been plunged into. I worry about children that go to bed hungry, about access to quality education and healthcare services for the most vulnerable. I worry about how the rising cost of living will impact our fight against poverty. And I worry about the unacceptably high levels of crime, especially violent crime against women and children in South Africa. I am, as I'm sure members of the legislature are, compelled into action to take urgent steps to make it better, as is our responsibility. I'm reminded of the words of Amanda Gorman, poet and activist, who said, "There is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it, if only we're brave enough to be it." Delivering hope, as the Premier said last month, will require the fierce urgency of now from all of us. It requires courage and grit, and it requires action. Showing this fierce urgency of now will require that we face up to the headwinds ahead of us. The World Bank estimates that global economic growth will slow from 2.9% in 2022 to 1.7% this year. High levels of inflation and commodity prices, continued disruption to global supply chains, and the risk to global food supplies brought on by Russia's invasion of the free and sovereign nation of the Ukraine means many countries, particularly in the euro area, face possible recession. As the impact of the invasion of Ukraine continues to reverberate around the world, the national government's so-called neutrality on this war has been brought into question by simultaneously engaging in military exercises with the aggressor. These reckless and anti-human rights actions are threatening relations with key trading partners and could come at a great cost to the Western Cape economy, even though our position on this matter of geopolitics couldn't be more different. Deputy Speaker, here at home in South Africa, we face serious challenges. Last week, it was confirmed that the national economy contracted by 1.3% in the fourth quarter of 2022, and that real GDP was, in fact, 0.1% less than before the implementation of the COVID-19 lockdowns, showing that nationally, we are sadly worse off now than before the pandemic. The national economic outlook also remains anemic, with growth forecasts of 0.6% in 2023 and 1.6% in 2024. At the heart of many of these challenges is a failing national government, unable to provide the clean governance, power and decisiveness needed to change South Africa's trajectory. In the 23-24 financial year alone, national government will spend 340 billion rand on debt servicing payments. This is 4 times more than the total annual allocation to the Western Cape. While we welcome efforts by the National Treasury to consolidate debt, the opportunity costs, especially on frontline services, are hard felt. However, just as we took urgent action, worked together and chose hope over fear to overcome the severe drought of 2017, and just as we took urgent action to save lives and livelihoods during the COVID-19 pandemic, we will again face our challenges head-on. With the right data to inform an evidence-based approach to strategic decisions, by rolling up our sleeves and working together, we can and we will succeed. And there is reason to have hope. In the third quarter of 2022, the Western Cape economy was estimated to be 1.3% larger than the first quarter of 2020. According to the latest quarterly labour force survey, we have now surpassed pre-pandemic employment levels thanks to an exceptional fourth quarter of 2022, in which the Western Cape created nearly 99% of net employment gains in South Africa. Over December last year, hotel occupancy in the province was better than before the pandemic, and international tourism has almost recovered to pre-pandemic levels at 97% when compared to 2019. Last year, nearly 32% of all building plans in the country were passed in the Western Cape, and we are the leading province for building plans passed by value. And our agriculture sector's growth outperformed all others over the last 10 years and is a significant export earner, accounting for 51% of all national agricultural exports. These are all reasons to have hope in the future, and we must push on and push forward because we have more work to do to lift people out of poverty, to increase opportunities for our residents, and to deliver a better future. Deputy Speaker, that is why today we table a budget of action. A budget that boldly seeks to remove obstacles that stand in the way of creating a more prosperous future that our children deserve. I'm therefore pleased to announce that over the 3-year medium-term expenditure framework, we will spend 242.31 billion rand to build a better tomorrow. Since the MTBPS, an additional 1.1 billion rand has been set aside to ramp up our energy security and decrease our reliance on Eskom, with 39.82 billion rand allocated to boost economic growth and to create opportunities for our citizens. This means we are allocating an additional 709.14 million rand to our Growth for Jobs priority over the 2023 MTEF. Over the next 3 years, this budget of action will also spend 4.76 billion rand to make sure citizens are safe in their communities. An additional 396.09 million rand has been added to this important priority over the 2023 MTEF. And this budget of action will spend 170.91 billion rand, including extra 966.85 million rand over the 2023 MTEF on our citizens' well-being, including on key services such as education and healthcare. Deputy Speaker, University of Cape Town academic and energy expert Professor Anton Eberhard, in an opinion piece earlier this year, summed up the current power crisis when he said that inaction has consequences. Here we are 4 years later, actually 25 years later if we consider the 1998 Energy White Paper, and Eskom is in meltdown. Undeniably, inaction has consequences. The single biggest threat we face right now, which compromises our collective future, is the missing in action stable energy supply of electricity upon which all else rests. Every single day of 2023, citizens and businesses, both big and small, have been without the power needed to carry out even the most basic tasks. The consequences are dire. In 2022, the real GDP loss to the Western Cape because of load shedding was estimated at 8.2 billion rand. This is why Premier Alan Winde, in his State of the Province address, set out to tackle this challenge head-on with a 1.1 billion rand plan to drastically ramp up our energy resilience and decrease our dependence on Eskom. This 1.1 billion rand plan is put into action in this budget to give you power. Up front, we've allocated 598.47 million rand to reduce the impact of load shedding, to boost the green economy, to set up a strong pipeline of green energy projects, scale up support to municipalities, to help them get more power into the grid, and to identify critical transmission infrastructure upgrades. A further 501.52 million rand is earmarked for energy projects in the pipeline and is a critical element of our ability to respond in an agile and flexible way. There are 4 pillars of the Western Cape's Energy Resilient Programme, which I will share some highlights of today. First, 11.5 million rand over the MTEF will be allocated to develop the Western Cape Integrated Resource Plan in relation to grid generation and financing planning. This plan will use an evidence-based approach to provide a least cost plan for new generation in the province and provide policy certainty. Second, 11.1 million rand will be allocated over the MTEF to the demand side management plan work, which seeks to identify short-term options for the province to mitigate some load shedding by managing demand. A critical part of this plan is also to ensure that demand management is incentivized. Third, and receiving the lion's share of this upfront funding, is our new energy generation program, on which we will spend 444.5 million rand over the MTEF. This will include project preparation support so that we have expertly designed and well-prepared projects to deliver more energy faster. And finally, 15.8 million over the MTEF will be earmarked for the network development plan, which aims to understand where we can use current municipal distribution networks and, crucially, to identify where we need to push Eskom to accelerate their planned network developments. Just as this approach tackles increasing our energy independence in a multifaceted way, our response will be driven by the whole of government. The Department of the Premier is allocated 95.9 million rand and will be leading, coordinating and driving strategic components of the Western Cape Energy Resilience Programme. This includes emergency power packs for vulnerable households and leading the preparation of the Western Cape's Integrated Resource Plan, the Municipal Pooled Buying Project and a demand-side management program. The new Department of Infrastructure has been allocated 148.7 million rand of the energy budget to further drive municipal independent power producer procurement, which includes project preparation facility, grid infrastructure development work, and exploring gas power. A total of 60 million has been allocated to Westgrow and Freeport Saldanha to enable green hydrogen development in the Western Cape. The Department of Economic Development and Tourism is allocated 24 million rand over the MTF to improve energy resilience in municipalities, and will also receive 55 million rand over the MTF to support SMMEs to implement alternative energy supply systems. And over the MTF, a total of 57.5 million is allocated to the Department of Local Government to help municipalities pilot renewable energy solutions, which will include the provision of specialists to find the best fit renewable energy options, as well as the creation of a municipal energy master plans. The Western Cape Government will step up and step into the breach to protect citizens and the economy wherever possible. And we will do so with transparency and accountability during the state of disaster by publishing our best practice procurement disclosure reports on energy procurement, just as we did during the COVID-19 pandemic. Deputy Speaker, this is a budget that gives power back to the people. We will show the fierce urgency of now required to protect our economy and deliver a future full of hope. Deputy Speaker, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the citizens of the Western Cape who sent in their budget messages for Murray and who let me know what mattered most to them. The input sent to me mostly fell into three key areas, which tie in with and are the reason why this government has set out to deliver growth for jobs, safety and well-being, our three North Star priorities. Oscar from Cape Agulhas wanted to know more about how we plan to create jobs by making it easier for small businesses to grow and access support. We have a clear vision for the future as contained in our new economic growth strategy, Growth for Jobs, which is near finalization. This bold strategy envisages a jobs-rich, inclusive, sustainable and resilient provincial economy that is growing at between 4 and 6% per year in real terms by 2035. This plan contains clear targets for each key focus area that our economy needs to succeed, all of which are based on the understanding that it is the private sector that creates jobs and that it's government's role to enable its success. And so, to achieve this bold strategy in pursuit of a better future for the people of the Western Cape, we have allocated 39.82 billion rand over the MTF for this important priority. In addition to our emphasis on energy resilience, we will focus on the ease of doing business by working to improve the efficiency of the Port of Cape Town, by implementing the Municipal Ease of Doing Business Planning and Building Permit Reform Programme, and by improving the processes which inform environmental impact assessments. We will seek to attract more investment into the Western Cape through continued allocations to Westgrow, the Freeport Saldanha Industrial Development Zone, and the Atlantis Special Economic Zone. We will increase work opportunities and skills development by supporting internships and skills programs, and by continuing the Presidential Employment Initiative and the expanded Public Works Programme. We will boost infrastructure by building roads, classrooms, clinics, and other facilities. We will create a spatially transformed province by improving mobility. We will make sure that we are prepared to respond urgently in the event of disaster, which includes funding to respond to increased climate change volatility and to explore innovative water resilience interventions. And we will support the growth of our agricultural sector by investing more in our critical veterinary services program, which is key to enabling agricultural trade. Deputy Speaker, Betty from Riversdale wants to know what our plans for current and future infrastructure are. The very foundation upon which our economy is built and in which the citizens of this province access healthcare, education and support services is our infrastructure. Investment in infrastructure is both a prerequisite for growth and a catalyst for it. This is precisely why Premier Wendy has announced the creation of a dedicated Department of Infrastructure in his 2022 State of the Province address. And so, to give life to Premier Wendy's focus on infrastructure, this budget of action will spend 32.57 billion rand on infrastructure, which crosses over into 10 billion rand per financial year for the first time. Over the 2023 MTF, this includes 13 billion rand that will be spent to deliver and maintain transport infrastructure. 7.76 billion rand that will be spent on providing more housing opportunities, 7.44 billion rand for education infrastructure, including the rapid school build to build more schools and more classrooms, including increasing access for children with special educational needs. 3.86 billion that will be spent on infrastructure projects at clinics, hospitals and colleges, and 1.58 billion that will be spent to improve access to basic services like water and sanitation in informal settlements. Deputy Speaker, I've heard from residents about their struggles with access to safe and affordable transport that they need to get to work, to look for work and to get around easily. Grenville from Kales River told us that he must leave his home at 6:30 just to get to work by 8:30. To work towards improving Grenville's experience and the transport experience of all citizens, and to give life to the new Department of Mobility, this budget of action will spend 9.11 billion rand over the next 3 years. In particular, we will continue to work with and support access to affordable transport with Golden Arrow buses, which provides transport services to 220,000 passengers every day in this province. We will also build on the impressive 37% decrease in road fatalities over the 22-23 festive season by continuing our efforts to keep roads safe by allocating an additional 131.92 million rand over the MTF to traffic law enforcement. And we will allocate an extra 150 million rand over the MTF to develop and implement an integrated, enhanced and efficient transport hub system, which will include the delivery of crime-fighting technology and systems to support the highway patrol. Deputy Speaker, in his budget message for Murray, Simon from Nurtuk let me know that he wants more boots on the ground to effectively bring down crime. As South Africans, we share a common fear that keeps people from living a full and happy life, and one that steals and cuts too many lives short. That fear is the fear of becoming a victim of crime. Sadly, for far too many, especially women and children, this fear has been realized, and it should not be this way. That is why we will do everything we can to make the province safer for all who live in it, by allocating an extra 396.09 million rand over the MTF for safety, bringing our total budget for this priority to 4.76 billion rand. To make the province safer, we will spend over the next 3 years 2.26 billion to make sure that our provincial policing functions have the funding they need to be effective, to work with and build up community-based safety partnerships, and to continue our critical oversight over the SAPS, of which 1.05 billion rand is allocated to continue the Law Enforcement Advancement Plan, or LEAP program, keeping more than 1,200 boots on the ground in hotspot areas so we can continue to make progress in reducing crime. We also know that prevention is better than cure, and so to stop crime before it occurs, this budget of action will spend over the MTF 987.38 million rand on the Crime Prevention and Support Program within the Department of Social Development, specifically to support children at risk and to help them set on a better path, and 49.32 million rand on supporting the work of the new data-led violence prevention unit within the Department of Health and Wellness. Deputy Speaker, Charlotte from Pakkalsdorp and George let me know that she wanted to hear more about our plans to boost wellness in the Western Cape through nutritional support programs, as well as support to victims of gender-based violence, amongst others. To build a strong and resilient society where citizens have the skills that they need to succeed, access to holistic healthcare, including mental health support, and where every woman, man, and child can meet their basic nutritional needs to live full and healthy lives, the Western Cape prioritizes the well-being of our citizens. To deliver on this vision, the well-being priority, which includes the pillars of health services, education and social development, is allocated 170.91 billion rand over the MTF. One of the best investments we can make now to realize the well-being of our citizens is to invest in education. And because a hungry child cannot concentrate, grow and develop, and because nutrition and education do indeed go hand in hand, we will spend an additional 61.6 million rand in 23-24, 63.89 million in 24-25, and 67 million rand in 25-26 on the school feeding program. which provides a balanced and nutritional rich meal to 485,000 learners every day. This will make sure that despite the steep increase in the cost of food, children will still have quality, nutritional and calorific value in the food provided in these programs. We also know that we must keep up with the growing demand for public education in the Western Cape. And so we will continue with the highly successful Rapid School Build program, which has so far delivered 721 of the 842 classrooms scheduled to be completed by the 31st of March 2023. We will accordingly allocate in 22-23 an additional 350 million rand to increase school spaces, as well as 5 million rand to assist with project preparation costs relating to the Rapid School Build program. And we will continue to run several after-school programs to support our youngest citizens. Over the MTEF, the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sports is allocated 158.7 million rand for youth programs. Deputy Speaker, this month we celebrate the month of the social worker and the immeasurable contribution they make to society and building a better future. And so I'm very pleased to confirm that an additional 247 additional social workers, auxiliary social workers, supervisors and administrative support staff are appointed to stabilize the welfare and child protection system. And that over the 2023 MTEF, this budget of action will allocate 238.36 million rand to fund victim support programs, which includes an additional 91.92 million rand to expand GBV services such as victim empowerment programs, shelters for victims of GBV, and psychosocial support services, and 193.57 million rand to maintain food relief efforts so that we continue to assist those who need it the most. Deputy Speaker, to help our citizens live long, healthy lives with access to quality healthcare, this government will spend 85.56 billion rand over the 2023 MTEF, the second largest allocation in this budget of action. As the COVID-19 pandemic subsides, it has become clear that critical interventions are required to respond to serious health challenges in our communities, including the TB epidemic and worsening mental health. We have therefore allocated an additional 239.43 million rand to strengthen mental health services, including the provision of a coordinated and targeted approach to ensure support to the most vulnerable and those at risk. And 92.35 million rand extra has been allocated over the MTEF to support and improve the outcomes of the TB response plan, ensuring detection, proper care, support to continue treatment, as well as prevention interventions. Deputy Speaker, we've done everything possible to buffer a declining provincial equitable share allocation for health. The new health risk-adjusted index used to calculate the health component of the PES, combined with annual technical data updates to the various PES formula components, amounted to a reduction in the baseline allocation of the Western Cape of 1.9 billion rand over the MTEF. As I explained to this House in my medium-term budget policy statement, the health component of the PES only counts the number of visits to clinics and does not count innovative plans implemented like telemedicine and home medicine deliveries aimed at reducing the number of sick people who must wait in long queues at clinics to get the help and care they need. Working to change this will continue to be a key area for both Minister Mbombo and myself. Lastly, Deputy Speaker, the golden thread through each of our strategic priorities and a focal point in and of itself is the Western Cape Government's fourth priority of innovation, culture and governance, which places the citizen at the very centre of everything that we do. To achieve the citizen-centric approach to governance over the 2023 MTEF, we will spend 666.72 million rand across the Western Cape Government on implementing citizen engagement initiatives, promoting transparency and accountability, collaboration and strengthening democracy. 1.61 billion rand to support the implementation of Broadband 2.0 to ensure that citizens in both metro and areas have internet coverage. An additional 37 million rand on the expansion of Cape Access Centres, enabling greater access to online information and offering opportunities for developing digital skills. Deputy Speaker, a budget of action does not only require delivery in the present, but the foresight to prepare for the future. And so to remain prepared, we will allocate 1.37 billion rand to the stabilization reserve so that we're able to protect frontline services against future negative impacts on service load pressures. We will also make provision for unforeseen and unavoidable expenditure by allocating over 1.65 billion rand over the MTEF. And to guarantee effective and efficient disaster management systems, we will allocate 190 million rand over the MTEF to the Department of Local Governments to oversee disaster management at both provincial and local levels. Deputy Speaker, in the Western Cape, we understand that corruption steals from the poor, which is why good, clean and accountable governance is non-negotiable for us, and why we are constantly looking at ways to strengthen our systems so that corruption will not be allowed to rear its ugly head in this province. Today, I can reveal the new intervention by our Provincial Treasury team to ensure we are constantly staying on the good governance front foot. Drawing on the findings of the courts against various government functionaries in other provinces and the findings and recommendations emanating from reports of the Special Investigations Unit, as well as the requirements of applicable supply chain management prescripts, we've developed an executive authority guide to procurement oversight as a resource to assist members of the provincial executive to provide guidance with their legal and ethical oversight responsibilities within the SEM domain. Another innovation which the PT team is leading is our Fiscal Futures project, which will enable this government to plan for future expenditures based on revenue projections, demographic projections and economic scenarios. With this powerful tool, we will be able to look into the future and see revenue trends to better prepare for and respond to whatever comes our way. Finally, Deputy Speaker, in addition to the PES, the Western Cape and other provinces receive conditional grants from the National Fiscus. While these grants provide critical funding for essential services, many are not keeping pace with inflation. Over the 2023 MTEF, the Western Cape's conditional grant allocation totals 14.47 billion in 23-24, 14.41 billion in 24-25, and 15.08 billion in 25-26, with an increase of 1.9% between 2022-23 and 2023-24. This includes in 23-24, 109.67 million rand to the Education Infrastructure Grant, 78.19 million rand to the Health Facility Revitalisation Grant, and 417.63 million rand to the Provincial Roads Maintenance Grant. Over the 2023 MTEF, it includes 87.96 million rand to the National School Nutritional Programme Grant and 80.29 million to the Early Childhood Development Grant, and a reduction of 28.85 million rand in the 23-24 and 24-25 Mass Participation and Sport Development Grant. Deputy Speaker, in summary, in the Western Cape over the next 3 years, 1.1 billion rand has been set aside to ramp up our energy security and decrease our reliance on Eskom. 39.82 billion rand has been allocated to boost economic growth and create opportunities for our citizens. 4.76 billion rand has been allocated to make sure citizens are safe in their communities, and 170.91 billion rand has been allocated for our citizens' well-being, including on key services such as education and healthcare. Deputy Speaker, when I put my 4-year-old son to bed to sleep, I remind myself of why I get up each day, just as millions of citizens do every day across the Western Cape. I get up because I choose hope over fear. I choose to work hard, not just for now, but to build a future where the children of this province have all the opportunities they deserve. As President Joe Biden said so powerfully, fear never builds the future, but hope does. I stand here today, shoulder to shoulder with you, ready to roll up my sleeves, to work to build a better future for all the sons and daughters across this province and of this wondrous country we call home. Because only through action, through the fierce urgency of now, can we deliver change and a future full of hope. Deputy Speaker, as I conclude, I'd like to thank the many citizens from every corner of the Western Cape who took the time to let us know what they wanted to hear in this budget. To the Consuls General for their continued friendship and partnership as our major and emerging trading partners, which we value very much. To my Cabinet colleagues and the Budget Policy Committee, thank you for your commitment to informing and implementing this budget of action. To the entire Provincial Treasury, under the immensely talented and dedicated senior leadership team, skillfully led by the head official of the Treasury, Mr. David Savage, thank you. To my team in the Ministry, under the very capable leadership of Mr. Russell Bruton, for their hard work and commitment to getting it done so well, thank you. To my mother, who could be here today, and my father, who could not, thank you for instilling in me the passion for public service and for teaching me that every time you get knocked down, you get up again, as many times as it takes to make a difference and to contribute positively to building a better future. To my husband, Craig, my partner, I could not do any of this without your support, love, and encouragement. Thank you. And to my son, for being my inspiration to be better every day. Today, for you, for tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the Honourable Minister Wenger. The Secretary will read the bill a first time.
Wes-Kaapse Begrotingswetsontwerp.
Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. In accordance with Rule 1881, the introductory speech, the bill and papers laid upon the table will be referred to the relevant committees for consideration and report. Honourable members, before we adjourn, I would also like to remind the members that the Budget Committee meeting will commence after adjournment of the House. That concludes the business for the House. The House is adjourned. The Secretary will now end the meeting and all members will be exited from the sitting. The House is adjourned.